Hi everyone, thanks for joining me here today. I'm Marie Lockwood. This is Cakes, Cooking, and More. Today we are doing my version of homemade lasagna. I hope that you enjoy it as much as my family does. So let's see what we need. For this one we're going to need a thing of cottage cheese. You can substitute ricotta for this, but I use the cottage because the kids eat it a little easier. It has a little bit lighter taste, and so they seem to like that better. Some mozzarella, I have some chopped up mushrooms, some garlic powder, some parmesan cheese, whichever your preference of sauce is. I'm using vodka sauce because again it has a lighter taste than the marinara, and the kids seem to like that a little better. So that one's really up to you. Also I have here some ground beef that is just about done. You're going to want to get that nice and cooked and well drained. And then behind me in the pot, I have my lasagna noodles that have been boiled and cooked. You do need to cook those first, unless you're buying, there's a kind that you can buy called oven ready, that's already, ready to go in, and I don't have those. So if you're making them yourself, or if you're buying the other kind at the store, you do need to cook those first. Okay, now that our ground beef is done, as you can see it's good and brown, we are going to take our little bit of garlic powder, sprinkle that in, and our little bit of mushroom. You don't need to cook this long. It's just enough to get the mushrooms kind of browned up a little bit, so a minute, maybe 2 minutes. That's really all you need. At this stage you could, if you chose to, add onion. I don't put onion in my lasagna, but you can. Another one that I sometimes do is black olives, although the kids have catched on to that one, so I don't get away with that as much anymore. Even when I chop them really tiny, they know it's in there. They see those little black spots and they know what it is, so I can't get away with it anymore. But if you can, or if you don't have kids, or they're not as picky as mine and you're very lucky there, then you can get away with some black olives. But you can do pretty much whatever vegetables you're happy with having in there. It doesn't have to be traditional just because that's how everybody else eats it. You are more than welcome to add whatever it is you want. I have tried bell pepper, I didn't like it. But I do like it with the black olive and the mushroom. But you can also leave out the mushroom if you don't like that. So really, try to remember, cooking is all about personal preferences. Just because it's in a recipe does not mean you're stuck using it. Okay, now that that's good, we're going to take our, if I can get it open, pasta sauce, which is really sealed. There we go. Whew. They do not make things kid-friendly anymore, and I'm not sure that they qualify as adult-friendly either at this point. You just want to get that mixed in. Make sure all of your meat, vegetables, whatever vegetables you chose, are nice and covered. And before I forget, the amounts of everything will be in the description box. Don't worry about that. Okay, now we're just going to get the rest out of here. You can do one of two things depending on personal preference. You can use about a 1/3 cup or a 1/4 cup of Chardonnay. It's a white wine. Gives a little bit different taste to your lasagna, but most of it burns off, so you don't have to worry about whether or not the kids can eat it safely. It's perfectly fine. Or if you prefer not to use wine, a lot of people don't like to use wine, you can use a little bit of water, or you can do what I did with a spatula and get that out. Alright, now we're going to let this simmer down just for a couple of minutes covered to let the sauce kind of thicken up just a bit, and then we'll be back. So it's been bubbling here for a few minutes. And really, it doesn't take long if you scrape to the bottom. Now, if you used wine or water, You do have to boil a little longer, especially with wine. You want to get all the wine boiled off. But, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how you did it, is all you really need. It's going to be pretty thin and soupy, which is kind of what you want. Okay, we've got that done. And here I've got my noodles already boiled and ready. So next we're going to put everything together. Now that we're ready to put everything together, get the heat turned off on that, letting it cool down. You can do it while it's hot or you can let it cool down. It's completely up to you. You just want to take your spoon. Don't need a whole lot on the bottom. Mostly you just want the sauce. So, scrape your toppings out of the way there and put just a little bit of sauce. This is just to keep your noodles from sticking to the bottom, which I have found from experience is impossible to get back out of there. So I do this just to keep that from happening, and you don't need a lot. You just want a light coating, like I said, that just keeps your noodles from sticking, and then you'll be just fine as far as that goes. All right, now you're going to take your noodles that you've already cooked. You just want to spread those across your pan. I don't use a giant pan because, well, the kids just don't eat that much. And too many leftovers won't get eaten. So, it really depends on your family and style and size and how much you really need. Now you'll notice that my noodles are a bit long, so just kind of center them to where the edges come up the side. Okay, now you're going to take your mixture. Get lots of that goodness in there. And you just want to spread that out. You can do as thick or as thin as you want. You can do as many layers as you want. And you can double the recipe and do a much bigger pan. So it's completely up to you. This is one of those recipes that you just adjust to what you need. I like some good heartiness in there. So I put quite a bit, and I just don't do as many layers. But I know a lot of people are big on the 7 layers, and you can do that with this recipe if you just cook a little extra hamburger meat. I've actually seen people do this with chicken, but I have not tried that. Alright, now you're going to take your cottage cheese and just kind of spoon that on top and spread it out. And again, I just don't do a whole lot of layers, but it's up to you. That's what I love about cooking, is you can adjust it for as many people as you need to, or as few. Just make sure I've got a good little coating. Kind of spread out, trying to get, everything so that everybody gets a little cheese, everybody gets a little meat. Okay, once you've got that done, just take your next noodles. If you can get a hold of them. It's easier once they've cooled down, and mine are still hot, so I can't really touch them just yet. Excuse me. Alright. Now on my second layer, I'm going to put a third one there in the middle to get a good noodle cover. And again, you don't have to. I like to do that every other layer so that I get a little extra noodles sometimes. I like a nice thick hearty one. Okay, I'm going to take this and do it this way this time. And just spread that out, just like you've been doing. I kind of separate mine into thirds, so that I get, you know, about 3 layers worth. Alright, now we're going to do our cottage cheese again. Like before, spread that out a little. If you're a new cook, yes, it can be very messy, but not to worry. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it will still taste just great. Alright, then we just put our last layer on there. Now you're going to pour the rest of your meat on top. Meat sauce mixture, actually. This is where I switch to the spatula, just so I can get the rest of it out. Set this behind me. There we go. Alright, then we just spread the last of our meat sauce out. Make sure we've got everything covered. Okay. And we're going to take the last of our cottage cheese. As you can see, mine made about 3 layers. And like I said, you can make more if you prefer it. But if it gets too thick and high, then my kids can't eat it. So I just don't do that. Once you've got the last of the cottage cheese in there, spread that out again. Okay, now at this point you have 2 choices. I don't like to put the noodles right on top of this because what happens is they overcook and they get kind of almost burnt edges, and I just don't like that. But you can put another layer on there if you want to. If you don't, then what you're going to do is just take your mozzarella. And again, this one is a personal choice. Some people put this inside with the layers, and you can do that, but what I found is it gets so cheesy that I just don't like it as much. And I like cheese, I just don't like that much. But I like a good coverage on the top. Remember, everything's already been really cooked, so it doesn't have to go in the oven for a really long time, and that's another thing I really like. Okay, now once I've got it really good and covered, I take Parmesan, and Parmesan is one of those things that you can leave out. You don't have to put it in there. I like it just for a little bit different flavor. Anyone who's ever had Parmesan knows that that's got a completely different taste to the cheese. And so it gives more flavor to the mixture, but it's not absolutely necessary. And just kind of sprinkle that on top. Alright, now we've got our lasagna all assembled. We're going to put this in the oven at 350, and it takes sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 25. What you're looking for is the cheese to be melted on top and sort of bubbly boily at the edge. Once you get that little bit of bubble boil where the sauce is kind of, you'll see it right at the edge. When you have that, that's when you're done. So you really have to kind of watch it. I set my timer at 15 and then I check it every 5 until I'm good and happy with it. Okay, so we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, now that our lasagna is done, you can see that it's got a nice golden brown edge. The cheese is melted. We're just going to take our lasagna spatula here. Cut. Piece out of there. Ooh. It always wants to come apart when you take lasagna out, but and it's fresh. So if you let it sit for a little while and cool off, it comes out as a much better square. But I'm going to take your lasagna there. And as you can see, it came out perfect. Everything's nice and cooked. And you'll be quite happy with this one. And like I said, because we use the vodka sauce and the cottage cheese, it actually comes out with a little bit lighter taste. It's not quite so heavy. And I actually like that a little better because it just tastes a little better when it's not so heavy. A little bit hot still, but very, very good. So, thanks for joining me here today. I'm Marie Lockwood here at Cakes, Cooking, and More. If you enjoy the show and the recipes, make sure you hit subscribe. And the little bell at the side of that after you hit it, that's just to notify you every time we upload a new video. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day.